Hello everybody, it's me again. I'm back. I hope that by making these screencasts for you that it really helps you. And I think that if you view these and if you just listen to what I say, even if you have to listen to them a couple of times, and I try to be brief, but it's kind of hard. You know, if we were in a face-to-face classroom, I'd be talking a lot more. But I feel like it's important, especially with this assignment, the article critique, that we try to get it right the first time. And I don't want you doing something that's incorrect, and then going back and saying, well, why didn't she let us know? So I'm going to go ahead and go over the guidelines and rubric with you, and then go over the example with you, because the example is just a sample. There are a lot of mistakes in it, and unfortunately, it's not something that I can change right away. There's always a process, but I will go over it with you and show you where I want you to make adjustments. So starting with the guidelines and rubrics, it says when you're writing a critical review of an article, you need to summarize, evaluate, and offer critical comments on the ideas and information that the author presents. Your goal should be to read and understand the article, analyze the findings, and evaluate and comment on it. So I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I'm going to say, when you go through an article, and some of them can be, 5 or 6 pages long in that fine print, and you start losing your train of thought. But this kind of gives a good overview here where it says allow enough time to understand, read through it without taking notes just to get a general idea, and then you can go back and highlight again and take notes. Also, this will be part of the main elements. So when I'm going to go over the rubric in just a second, but I want you to know when I look for the main elements, when I'm grading your critiques, I don't do this subjectively. I'll grade your papers based on the rubric. So as long as you are meeting these requirements, then you're going to do quite well. So you want to include the name of the article, and it needs to be cited in proper APA format. So if you're having some issues, if I make comments about your APA formatting, please go to that website, that link that I've given you several times, Al Purdue, and it will show you how to properly cite a journal article. Where did you find it? Did you find it in EBSCOhost? Did you find it in the online library? In Galileo? How did you find it? And how do you know that it's a reliable and valid site? Well, we know if we go through the library and we use, one of the main search engines like, EBSCOhost, we know that is definitely reliable and valid. What's the issue that the article is addressing? Is it a significant problem or issue related to concepts or theories in this course? And when we talk about this, concepts and theories, we're talking about research. Is this something that will contribute to research, and why or why not? So as long as we can tie it into what we're looking at, and that's educational research, then it is a significant problem. What references did the author use in this article? You don't have to list those out, cite them verbatim, like cut and paste in their reference page, but you can just say they used numerous journal articles, books, web pages. Just go into depth about what kinds of references they used. Did it contain research? Well, for this assignment, I'm asking you to find either a quantitative or qualitative article. So in that case, it needs to contain research. It needs to contain data and what instruments were used, if any, to collect data. You will have instruments It can be surveys. It could be observations. You could be looking at testing, some kind of standardized test scores. Those are your instruments. Those are the things that you'll be looking at. What were the conclusions that the author came up with? Was the article reliable and valid? You can usually in these research articles, it will address reliability and validity, so you can actually pull this from the article itself. Now this is where you'll come in. Was the article well written, thoughtful, reflective? Was it applicable for the classroom teacher? This will be your opinion, but I've said it a good bit that I want to try to get you away, because you're on a graduate level here. I'm trying to get you away from using first person, the I, me, my. So, if at all possible, please try to stay away from that. And when you state this, state it as a fact. You don't have to say, I think that so-and-so, so-and-so. You say, this article was well written because. What were the limitations? And again, if this is a good if this article is on a study and it's a good article, it should show the limitations. Were there any variables? If it is qualitative, again, you will not have those distinct variables like you will in a quantitative. In a quantitative, you'll have the independent variables and the dependent variables. Qualitative, they're not set like in a quantitative. And any other thoughts or comments you want to add? Then looking at the rubric, again, I want to stress this, because I said if you are accustomed to getting an A, and I am one of those, I always wanted an A, but if you add the numbers up, and this is a SNHU policy, like it or not. If you add the highest you can get under proficient, proficient means that you've met everything, all the requirements there are, you're still going to be somewhere in a high B. So in order to get an A, you have to have at least, a few areas over here as proficient or as exemplary. So think about that as you complete these assignments. But going over just the main components of this rubric, that you provide a comprehensive overview of the research, data, and instruments that were used in the article. You include all the main elements, and those are all those questions that I just went over. That it's well developed, and it cites both strengths and weaknesses of the article. And remember, one of those last questions was, what is your opinion? So, again, try not to use the I, me, my, but I want you to cite what were the strengths of the article, what were the weaknesses of the article. No errors related to organization, grammar, and style. And when I go over the example in just a minute, we'll go over organization. That all your sources are cited. Make sure that when you cite the article in APA format, that is the one you want to focus on. If you list all of and I told you that you did not have to list all of the sources that the article used or that the researcher used. You can just say that it was journals, books, so forth. But if you do decide that you want to use all of their sources and list them in your paper, make sure they're in APA format. And then last, that you've incorporated concepts and theory from the course materials, and that you've used outside references. So our theory would be, that this is qualitative. What makes it qualitative? This is quantitative. What makes it quantitative? Those are all, part of theory. You may want to use Cresswell. You may, may want to use Gall-Gall-Borg, and those are some big research books that you'll see a lot. You'll see those names come up a lot. But that may address variables, that may address what makes it valid and reliable, and these are all concepts that we've talked about in the course. So now I'm going to pause you for just a second, and we're going to go over to the sample real quick. Okay, the sample. And again, I said I was going to be quick, and I never am I? I usually ramble, and I apologize. Okay, first of all, and I should have pointed this out, if you've looked at comments, you know that this is not APA. I'm not sure why this is formatted like that, but it's not like anything I've ever seen. This kind of mimics MLA, but APA is what the rubric asks for. It wants APA formatting of this assignment, and they want you to use, as usual, Times Roman 12 font. So this is not APA. This would be excluded. This would be, you would not include that. You would just number your paper here, and then here you would have the running head, and you would have the name of the article in all caps. And y'all, you should know that if you looked at my videos and my samples. Okay, I'm not going to go crazy about making sure that you've got the headers properly for APA format. You know what I would rather you do, and I like the way they've set this up. Don't number anything. You can just put the headers over here to the left and just leave it at that. Okay, this is the article in APA formatting, and they gave a web link there. Then it asked, and this was one of the questions, where was it found? Was it valid and reliable? And again, just leave these numbers off. Just bring this all the way over to the left. What was the problem? What problem were they looking at in the article? This example includes my, me, my, I, all over the place. Please try to stay away from that and just state the problem. You know, what are they dealing with? The significance of the problem, variables in relationship. If you've chosen a qualitative article, you will not have variables in that sense, but you might want to just speak to what you're looking at. Review of literature. This would be the sources that they used. And this person just listed all of the different areas of articles, you know, levels of control, impact of testing on instruction. And all I want from you is, were they using books? Were they using journal articles, websites, what have you? You will have a hypothesis if this is quantitative. If it's qualitative, you will not. And for the sample, when we're talking about sample, we're just talking about participants. So if you ever see that word sample, that's what that means, participants. The instruments, what instruments did you use? Did you use surveys? Did you use assessment scores? Did you use observations? And again, bring these over to the left. Alleviate those numbers. Do not include the numbers. The design, just, was it qualitative? Was it quantitative? What kind of data? I'm running out of time. Method of analysis. Conclusions of the article. Was there further research recommended? And your opinion of the study. Stay away from I. And remember, include Limitations, reliability, and validity. And that's all I've got time for.